Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Proper Plays YouTube channel. Today is Friday, October 4th, and we're going to take a look at a couple matchups for the Friday night slated games. We're going to start with Syracuse going on the road to face off against a red-hot UNLV team with a new quarterback. And for the second play tonight, we're going to be looking at a Big 12 battle, Houston going up against TCU. I have the game pick for both of those games, and then my two best player props for the entire slate of college football on Friday night. Hope everybody enjoys their Friday, and let's break down some ball. All right, guys, let's get into this recap graphic from Thursday night. Sam Houston is wrapping it up right now. 41-21 final score in that game. We take it -9.5 against UTEP. UTEP did battle the entire way through. It was 38-7. So they got a couple touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. Hunter Watson, nowhere close. 103.5 rushing yards. UTEP put 9 in the box. It was very clear they wanted to stop the run in the first half. UTEP opened it up in the second half, throwing the ball down the field. And then Jordan McLeod, over 2.5 passing touchdowns. He hit that in the first half, going up against Troy as Texas State dominates Troy in that game. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. Not updated, but 2-1 day. Not too shabby. 1-1 on the player props, 1-0 on the game pick. Let's take a look at the games for Friday night. We're going to start with Syracuse going on the road to face off against the top 25 team now in UNLV. For Syracuse, they started off the season with 3 wins, only 1 loss. They're going to try to take down this undefeated team, 25th in the nation for UNLV. UNLV had that crazy situation with their quarterback last week where he said he was supposed to be paid $100,000. They never came through with that money. He decided to step away from the team, take a red shirt, so it didn't hurt his eligibility for next year. Of course, the school, UNLV, said there was no such thing as them having a contract to pay him $100,000. No verbal contract either to pay him, which I don't think verbal contracts hold up in a court of law. Maybe they do. I don't know. But Matthew Sluka was his name. He did decide a red shirt. The starting quarterback who came in had no problem going up against Fresno State. They scored 59 points in that game. The defense for UNLV, they were really good against Fresno State as well. They only allowed 14 points. They were just a small favorite as well, and they won that game by 45. The problem is that I think last week was the energy game for UNLV. I'm not entirely sure if they can keep the same energy up in this game at home. People were saying their season was over because they lost the starting quarterback. Well, the senior came in, and they dominated in the last game, but I think this is going to be one of the toughest tests for the season for UNLV. This actually might be the toughest test. If you take a look at the games, they played Houston early in the season, which Houston doesn't look like a very good team right now. I'll talk about them in a little bit. So Kansas was probably their best win of the season, and that Kansas team is not good either. I'm not trying to compare the teams here because Syracuse hasn't really played anybody either, but I do think this is going to be the tough matchup for UNLV. I don't want to put too much on that Fresno State game. They scored 59 points, but that Fresno State team is not good. UNLV also kind of poured on Fresno State late in that game. They scored 28 points in the fourth quarter. Fresno State had given up at that point of the game, so I'm not counting those 28 points, even though a lot of people probably will. If you watch the game, Fresno State heads down, no heart, no hustle on the defensive side. 28 points later, the game was over. Now they're going to face off against Kyle McCord and this Syracuse offense. They're coming into the game with the #1 passing offense in the country. This Syracuse team, they love to throw the ball. I think they can exploit the UNL secondary in this game. I'm going to take them win this game on the road. Everybody's going to take the spread, -6.5. All UNLV has to do is win this game by a touchdown after a 59-point explosion last week. The fact is, Fresno State's not a good team. Their best win on the season was against an 0-4 New Mexico's team. They're not good. They're extremely bad. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think whoever has the ball last is going to win this game. And I'm going to take Syracuse to have the ball last. Kyle McCord in this offense, the #1 passing offense in the country. Syracuse +7 has to play, but I think they win this game money line. For the second play tonight, we're going to be looking at a Big 12 battle between Houston and TCU. This is where I want to talk about Houston because everybody thinks that the first win for UNLV was a good win. At the time, probably was. This Houston team, they're an absolute wreck, though, right now. They simply can't score. They can't move the ball down the field. They can't put points on the board. The defense, it's okay. It's not great. To be fair to the defense, they've had to struggle for the first 4 games of the season. They've got a lot of their games where they're playing really well in the first half, but whenever your offense is only scoring 10 points per game, there's only so much you can do. Houston's now been shut out in back-to-back games, and they're not going to get shut out in this game because TCU defensively, they've got their own problems. But at the same time, I do think TCU has the capability to put up 40-plus points on this Houston defense. I know that TCU is not a very good team. I watched them every single play against Kansas last week. Kansas kind of blew that game in the third quarter. TCU capitalized on a couple things, but I've seen this TCU team play now 3 times. First game of the season against Stanford, they played SMU in that shootout, got destroyed, and then they played Kansas. So I've seen a lot of this TCU team. The one thing that stay consistent with them, the quarterback, Josh Hoover, he's the real deal. He might not be great in the SEC or the Big Ten play, but he's exactly what you need in the Big 12. He plays some really good offense, 356 yards last week, 3 touchdowns. He can sling the ball with the best of them. These teams also met last season. TCU won that game very easily, 36-13. I think TCU is better than last year, and Houston, I think, is worse than last year. The passing defense for Houston has been beaten up a little bit. They're coming into this game the 72nd ranked passing defense in the country, and TCU has the second best passing offense so far this year. So I'm going to hitch my wagon to Syracuse and TCU, the second best and the best passing offenses in the country tonight. Give me TCU in this game, minus 16.5. I understand it's a little bit unsettling because of how bad TCU can look at times, but this is the best we're going to see this defense look this season going up against Houston. They can't score. They can't move the ball. Give me TCU, minus 16.5 as the play there. For the player props today, we're going to stick with the Syracuse game for the first one. Give me Cal McCord, over 303.5 passing yards against UNLV. The positive thing for the UNLV this season has been the rushing defense. That was really why they beat Kansas. Kansas wanted to get everything going on the ground with Devin Neal. They couldn't do that in the second half. They were able to pin their ears back, get to Daniels, who's been very bad this season. It was very effective going up against Kansas in the second half. In this game, I guess we're going to see UNLV pin their ears back to try to get to Cal McCord, but I think Syracuse is going to be really good at setting up the screens. Once those start to get some yardage, we're going to see a couple people drop back, and then that's going to allow Kyle McCord to throw the ball down the field. You can forget about all the big schools in the NCAA. This season, Kyle McCord, the transfer from a big school, Ohio State, he is your leading passer through 4 games for himself because Syracuse only played 4 games so far this year. In all 4 of these games, he's gone over 300-plus passing yards, with his worst game being against Stanford, going for 339 yards and 2 scores. That's his worst game of the season. The best thing about this play is that we know Syracuse is going to throw the ball a ton no matter what they do. We've seen Kyle McCord throw no less than 39 times in all 4 games this season. In the last game going up against Holy Cross, they won that game 42-14. He still threw the ball 50 times for nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. UNLV, the secondary, is the weakness so far this season. I think Syracuse is the perfect team to beat that secondary. Give me Kyle McCord, over 303.5 passing yards as the first play. And for the last play, we're going to go Oregon against Michigan State. Give me Jordan James, the running back for Oregon, over 91.5 rushing yards as the play. Michigan State defensively this season has not been a very good team. They're allowing over 340 yards per game in total, but they've been pretty bad at stopping the run all around this year, giving up 140 yards on the ground per game. If you've ever watched Oregon play football, they're an extremely fast-paced team, and you blink, this team can be up by 20-plus points in the first quarter. I do think Oregon's going to dominate this game. They should be able to dominate the ground game as well with Jordan James. He's coming off his best game of the season against UCLA, going for 20 carries, 103 yards with a score. And despite Oregon's fast-paced offense, they do like to keep the ball on the ground, with Jordan already having 64 carries on the year, nearly 400 yards on the ground to go with that. This guy also has the potential to have a couple breakout runs. He's extremely elusive running back. He hits the hole hard. He can easily take one of these carries for 80 yards and a touchdown on any play. His longest rushes per game this season, they've all been over double digits, so it's very possible this one could be over early in the first half if he breaks one. I'll take his over, 91.5 rushing yards as the play here. Let's go over to the recap graphic. We're going to be taking TCU minus 16.5 against Houston. I just don't think Houston can keep up with TCU. And then Syracuse plus 7. If you want to take Syracuse money line, I'm just going to add it. Let's just add Syracuse money line for 0.25 units. I think they win the game. I think Syracuse wins that game. Syracuse plus 7 as the play, though. Kyle McCord, over 303.5 passing yards against UNLV. And then Jordan James, over 91.5 rushing yards against Michigan State. Guys, it's going to do it for the NCAA football plays and props for Friday, October 4th slated games. If you guys enjoyed the content, please sure drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.